Welcome to How to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Deck Profile, Swordsoul, Ryu-Ge.
Chapter 1.
And there you have it. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my deck, which is Swordsoul Ryu-Ge. I do want to say that this is my initial deck when I first built it. But after I've gone to locals recently, it's had a few changes. So, this is a good deck to take, I would say. And then, make your own changes when you can. Just a good base form. With that being said, let's get on with the rest of the video.
Chapter 2.
Now, I'm going to talk about the deck profile visual aid. So in this video, I'm going to just showcase all the monsters in the deck currently now. So this is the base form. So next, you'll just see a scroll of all the monsters in the main deck, extra deck, and side deck. Well, hope you enjoy.
Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter 5.
I'm now going to explain the side deck. So the side deck, obviously now as I went to locals recently, because I'd builders, it has changed. So I have moved the sphere mode into the deck because I found that, we're lacking level 10s. I've also put in number 77, the 7 Sins. Crimson Blade has been added. 3 Gizmek Kaku has been added now. The Supreme Shining Sky Stag into the side deck. Much of it is the same. Zombie World has been added because we can add that with Mula Adahara. And also it can help us to avoid Anibiru if possible. Sky Palace Gangradai has also been added, so there's some other cards that have been changed as well. With number 84 Pain Gainer has been put in there. And finally, the other 2 monsters in the extra deck, in the side deck, that have been added in there are number 99 Utopic Dragon and number 100 Numeron Dragon. So, apart from those few cards, the rest of it is pretty much the same. And one of the reasons why I found that this new version I have is better is because I've noticed the deck mainly focuses on rank 10s. It's easier to make rank 10s. Rank 4s are not that easy, especially with the Rex. So in the updated build that I have now, Rex is removed. It is not there anymore. I just play 3 Kairoga, the dinosaur Ryu-Ge, and the numbers are pretty much the same, with the Sea Serpent Ryu-Ge still at 2, and the Genryo Worm Ryu-Ge is still at 2. The Sea Serpent, which is the Dragon of the Dark Deep, that has been removed, which has been replaced with the Sphere mode there, increasing it to 3. Some changes are there. I do recommend as well a Sphere mode into the deck. I think you should main deck that. It's good. It's a great card going second, and also it's just a good discard outlet for the Tokusano, which you can send it from your hand to the graveyard to draw 2. I would also say to main deck from the side deck, move over the Magical Midbreaker into the main deck. That's pretty good, as I've found that really helped, especially as it protects your plays. Stuff like that. Also move Mound of the Bound Creator into the main deck as well. I put it in the side, but I realized that it's better in the main. It does more. Your cards get protected. You're protected from SP, and destruction and all those manners of things. There was a stage when I was playing at Ryziel where they Nibiru'd me, and I had a 10,000 attack token, and because I had Mound of the Bound Creator, they could not target it. Because detonated targets, so can't be targeted, couldn't be destroyed, and the token was pretty strong, and I ended up winning that game. But yeah, so loads of fun little things you can do.
Chapter 6.
And here we are. So I'm just going to playtest Swordsoul hands with Ryu-Ge, ideal hands that I have with this base form of the deck, what the ideal boards were with this initial form. But now, obviously, I changed the deck after locals, and I play the version that I am playing currently now is a little bit different. But here it is. Check out these test hands. Okay, so let's get the test hand to showcase play in Swordsoul Ryu-Ge. Draw. We have Ryu-Ge Warzone. Draw. We have Genko Ryu-Ge Hakva. Draw. We have Swordsoul Long Strategist Long Yuan. Draw. We have Cairo Ryu-Ge Emva. And the last card, we have Triangle Dragon of the Dark Deep. With this, let's go over a typical play if things come to pass. Okay, so here's the first thing we will do. We'll activate Ryu-Ge Warzone. So, after activating Ryu-Ge Warzone, we will get its effect. So, with Ryu-Ge Warzone's effect, we will choose to add a worm, which is Swordsoul Tire. We will send this to the graveyard, and we will banish this dinosaur, which is Kyoro Ryu-Ge Kaiba. So the Ryu-Ge War Zone, if I'll read you its effect, when this card is activated, take one dinosaur, sea serpent, and worm from your hand or deck, add one of them to your hand, banish one, and send the other to the graveyard. So what we're doing is we're adding Swordsoul Tire, we're sending Kairo Ryu-Ge Emva to the graveyard, and we're banishing Kyoko Ryu-Ge Kaiba. So let's do that. And from the field spell activation, you see we have sent Kairo Ryu-Ge Emva to the graveyard and banished Kyoro Ryu-Ge Kaiba. That is it. Let's go on to the next part. So first, I'm going to activate the effect of Kairo Ryu-Ge Emva in my hand, which will allow me to add, as it says there, place a Ryu-Ge's Spires I control from the deck to the hand. So let's do that, as I'll send this to the graveyard. As you can see, Kairo Ryu-Ge Emva is in the graveyard, then allowing me to add the Ryu-Ge Realm Sea Spires. Well, this allows us to add and activate Ryu-Ge Realm Sea of Spires. And now that we've done so, let's continue on with the next series of plays that I'll do in my hand. I'll activate the effect of Triangle Dragon of the Dark Deep. This can be activated when I have 3 or more, as you can see here, level 10 monsters in my graveyard and banish zone. We have 2 Kairo Ryu-Ge and 1 in the banish zone. So let us remove them from there, put them back to where they are, and do so. So first, I'll special summon Triangle Dragon of the Dark Deep. Its effect activates, meaning that I can send, when it's special summoned, I can choose to send the top card of my deck to the graveyard. And if it is a monster, inflict 1000 damage. And so, look at that. I got to send a monster, which was Giant Rex. I do so, and I am able to now deal 1000 damage, and I have an additional 500 attack, so I'm now 2600 attack. Well, what do you know? It doesn't end there. Kairo-Ge, I can now activate the effect of Kairo-Ge, Kairo Ryu-Ge Emva in my graveyard. Because 2 or more monsters were sent from the hand and or deck, that has happened this turn, I can special summon this card. It's right there. Here's where things get interesting. As you can see, we have played around Nibiru, and we're going to be getting, negate before our 4th summon. We will then overlay those 2 cards, see there, to get ourselves, if we just go to the extra deck there, to get ourselves Varudras. And we will end there for now, and I'll continue on with the plays. You have to remember at this point, your opponent has already just taken 1000 points of damage because of Triangle, so they're now on 7000 life points if the turn, and the turn has only just started. We're then going to activate another effect of Swordsoul Strategist Long Yuan from our hand by discarding the worm, which is Genro Ryu-Ge Hakva, to the graveyard. So let's do that, discarding this with its effect, allowing us to special summon a Swordsoul token, which you'll see here, the Phantom Curse, the Trickster. Anyways, I'm using that as a token. Okay, looks interesting, right? It does. So afterwards is what we're gonna do. Okay, so we will go for a Synchro Summon. We'll send these 2 to the graveyard, because a token, remember, Swordsoul token is treated as a level 4 tuner, and go into Swordsoul Sinister Sovereign Kijing Long Yuan. The effect of Swordsoul Strategist Long Yuan activates. because it was used for a synchro summon, I get to deal 1200 points of damage to the opponent. At this point in time, the opponent only has, if we just adjust things there, only has 5,800 life points. Okay? And every time, obviously with Swordsoul, Sinister Sovereign, Qijing, Long Yuan's effect, every time a Were Monster is synchro summoned, I'll get to draw a card. Okay? That's going to be something important that you got to remember later. And finally, our actual normal summon is going to be Swordsoul of Tyre. We will normal summon Swordsoul of Tyre, and then we will activate Swordsoul of Tyre's effect. By banishing our worm, hey, we got to do that. This is the worm in the graveyard. We'll get our Swordsoul token. That comes back once again. Next, I'll go for a synchro summon. As I'll synchro with those two in order to get Swordsoul Grandmaster Shijiao. Now, several things are going to happen. So it will be Chainlink 1 with Swordsoul Tyre, Chainlink 2 with Swordsoul Grandmaster, and Chainlink 3 with Swordsoul Sinister, Sovereign, Qijing, Long Yuan. So first, let's start with this, the higher the Chainlink order. Because I have synchro summoned a Were Monster, I get to draw a card. Guess what? I drew Summon Over. The effect of Shijiao activates, allowing me to add a Swordsoul card. So what I'm going to add here is the spell card Swordsoul Emergence. But wait, we're not done yet. This will then allow me, the Tyre, since it was used for a synchro summon, allows me to send a Were Monster from my deck to the graveyard. So what we're going to send now is this boy right here, Swordsoul Moye. Send it to the graveyard. Okay. That's it. Let's go to the next stage. So far, this board is looking quite substantial, quite scary. We have Omni Negate with Varudras. We can banish a monster or a special summon monster or spell or trap activation with Sinister Sovereign, and we've got Grandmaster Shijiao for monster negate by banishing a worm in my graveyard. Obviously, the monster effect on the field. For the final coup de grace, we will activate Swordsoul Emergence. This allows us to add any worm monster from our deck to the graveyard. There's only one worm monster we're adding, the one, the only. Say hello to Arch Nemesis Protos. And so this is what we're going to do. First, we are going to, in our graveyard, we're going to banish Swordsoul Moye, Swordsoul Tyre, and Swordsoul Long Yuan, in order to special summon Arch Nemesis Protos. It will be there in defense mode. And with that, we will end our turn. So as you can see there, we have a lot of things. We have a way to deal with, back row. And we have a way to, protect our cards. There's so many things here across the table. On top of that, as you know, we have Summon Over, which means that we can do it on top. We can activate it next turn and special summon a lot of cards and just do a lot of nonsense. Yes, the world is our oyster here. So that's it. Let's go over another hand. Second test hand. Draw. Sosei Ryu-Ge Mistva. Draw. Ryu-Ge Wozo. Draw. Kairo Ryu-Ge Emva. Draw. Which will be Drangle, Dragon of the Deep. And draw the final card, Tea, the Primal Being. With that, let's see what we will do first. Okay, so I'll activate the effect of Sosei Ryu-Ge Mistva. First of all, I will place it in the pendulum zone, as you can see there. Hold on. Then its effect will mean that it destroys itself to add a Ryu-Ge card. And so we will add this card here, Genryo Ryu-Ge Hakwa. Let's go to the next thing that we will do. Okay, so once again, I'll activate Ryu-Ge War Zone. The effect of Ryu-Ge activates. So, I'll add the worm, send the sea serpent, and banish the dinosaur. Okay, I'll do a play you're very familiar with. I'll activate the effect of Cairo Ryu-Ge Emva, send it to the graveyard, allowing me to add Ryu-Ge Sea Realm Sea Spires. This time, I'll just add it to the hand. Now, at this point, I can activate this card, Triangle, Dragon of the Dark Deep. If, as you recall correctly, there are 3 level 10 monsters in the graveyard or banished zone, or it adds up to 3, I can special summon this card. I'll do so. Special summon Triangle of the Deep. Its effect activates, meaning I can send the top card of my deck to the graveyard, and if it is a monster, deal 1,000 points of damage to your opponent. Well, what do you know? It is a monster, so my opponent takes 1,000. They are now on 7,000 points of damage. Now I can successfully activate the effect of Cairo, since 2 or more monsters were sent from the hand and deck this turn. This card can be special summoned onto the field. Finally, I will activate the Ryu-Ge Realm of Sea Spires, which will be put right there, as you can see there. Okay. Here it comes. The play is all too familiar. I'll overlay these 2 cards to get Varudras, the final bringer of the end times. And with that, we will start building the board that you're familiar with, but it'll be slightly different because we don't have the such an optimal hand. But let's go. I'll activate the effect of Swordsoul Strategist Longyuan by discarding a worm. You remember that? Get us a token. There we go. Let's zoom out. You can see right there. Pretty wild. Next, we will then go for a synchro summon, and this time we will make, because our board is not optimal, Cheng Ying. So we'll synchro those 2 away, Cheng Ying. The effect of, obviously, Swordsoul Longyuan activates, meaning we deal an additional 1,200 points of damage. So the opponent should now be on 1,200. And our turn ends there. So that is the board. It isn't much, but that's how it is.
And now we have here the Ryu-Ge Divergent idea. So here is, I will use the AI here to explain another idea you can do with Ryu-Ge, with the Sea Serpent side, and all manners of spicy plays you can do. So see that demonstration. Let's continue.
I activate Ryu-Ge Warzone. After activation, I add Lapis Dragon. Banish Kaitoptera and send Genro Ryu-Ge Hakwa. When Kaitoptera is banished, I can add Polymerization. Now I activate Tokuseno Shinkeigen. I can then draw 2 cards. Then I normal summon Swordsoul of Teia. Swordsoul of Teia's effect. By banishing a worm or Swordsoul card in my graveyard, I can special summon a Swordsoul level 4 water token worm tuner. It's time to synchro summon. I tune my level 4 worm token tuner with Swordsoul. Warrior from an ancient time, Grandmaster of the mountains and sword, show them your terror and might, appear before them. Swordsoul Grandmaster Chishao. When used for a synchro summon, you can send any worm from deck to the graveyard. Swordsoul Grandmaster Chishao effect. On summon, we can add any Swordsoul card from the deck to the hand. The fun is only just beginning. At this moment, I can activate the effect of Cairo Ryu-Ge Ember. When 2 or more monsters are sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, I can special summon this card from the graveyard. It's time to go even further beyond. I tune my level 5 Lapis Dragon and my level 10 Cairo Ryu-Ge Ember. Great Dragon of the Sinus, hear my plea. As you enter this world from the great sea of stars, etched into the constellations, let your shadow materialize. Synchro summon Ultimate Zolkin. I set a card. With that, Zolkin's effect activates. When a spell or trap is set, you can special summon level 7 or 8 Synchro Dragon. It cannot be targeted for attacks or effects while you control another Synchro monster.
I also do want to say, with the demonstration that I did have with the AI and myself, I didn't use the full effect of the field spell, as at the time I didn't know it had that additional effect with the pendulum, the Ryu-Ge Mitva, to special summon them all from banish, grave, and deck. But know that you can do this as well, increasing your plays and doing much more, and you can definitely play around Nibiru. So that is something that needs to be said here. If we fully use the field spell and use all of its effects, then playing through Nibiru and through hand traps is no problem with just one field spell activation. Let's obviously now grade this deck, and I'll be grading it a C.
She's as cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, that's about right. I do believe when it comes to Swordsoul Ryu-Ge, there's more that we can be doing. Possibly when I upgrade it, a little bit, I think it can go to a solid B, or B or C plus B. I don't really see this, if you update this build a bit, fine tune it, do a lot of things, I don't see it going to A with a grade of A or with S tier status. I think the power level that we've got here is a little bit is not happening, is not good. I do feel there's other avenues you can take this deck as well. You could use the Clockwork Knight Link 1 that has come out, and play the Clockwork Knight continuous spell as well, and play Regulus, so that you can add Regulus. You do have a lot of continuous spells. Clockwork Knight is a Link 1. You can splash in a machine that's 1000 or lower attack points. This is not difficult, okay? There are things that can be done here. So are there things that can improve this deck to B? Possibly A? Yes. Would you be able to play that in this competitive scene? I think so, but I wouldn't trust this deck with a 10-foot pole. There are things you can do, obviously, and there are spicy and sexy plays, especially with the Protos. But would you think that I'm being a little bit pedantic, being not so optimistic and being a negative Nancy? Maybe I am. I like to think the worst. There is a lot that goes for this deck, but that is when its plays are uninterrupted. Now, I assume, obviously, with the hand traps that are going to be going into the competitive scene, you're not really going to be uninterrupted. And because you can't play any hand traps in this deck, that's part of the reason, and you really can't defend what your opponent is doing. That's part of the reason why I've
put it at C, and possibly grading it to B when you improve it. While yes, you can put in the sphere mode does help if they have 3 or more monsters as you're main decking that, so you have plays going second, so you can break the board. You can obviously keep the Testina, meaning you in your side deck, find it quite useful, as you can rank some, XYZ summon into that, send all your opponent's back row, dealing for obviously back row removal. You send it, you don't destroy it, meaning that some traps don't trigger. The spells and traps don't trigger because they're sent. There's ways. There's things you can do. Don't get me wrong. There's very spicy things you can do. Loads of potential here, but it's up to you. It's up to the player really. How they feel about this deck. But I'll change. I'll keep the stance of I grade it at C. Final chapter. And here we are at the conclusion. So, let's talk about it. What is it with Ryu-Ge, Swordsoul Ryu-Ge, that I consider it a C, you've been saying, and you've been looking at it and you've been hearing my thoughts, and you think that this deck can go the distance. This deck can go further. And indeed, theoretically, you can. There are many avenues again. You could take this deck. You could go the Lapis Dragon route as the AI has showcased here, and the potential of this deck is very high compared to Ragnaraka. It is much higher, much easier to facilitate toxic boards, and the ceiling is off the charts. The issue with this deck isn't the power, isn't the scale at which it puts decks. The issue is that we cannot play hand traps, right? This is part of the issue with this deck. Now, with Ragnarok, obviously, as I played, we could put some hand traps there. There was room for hand traps. There's room for loads of things. We could do things. We could search hand traps. We could do things. Sure. The issue with Ragnarok wasn't the issue was its power level, so to speak. Where here, the issue with Swordsoul Ryu-Ge is the fact that we cannot put any hand traps at all. It's a bit concerning, because if you start putting hand traps in Swordsoul Ryu-Ge, the deck can't really function. It's one of these decks that can't really function without hand traps. So that is one of the biggest weakness of this deck. Do you summon a lot? Yeah, you do. Which means you are going to be affected somewhat by Mulcharmies. I think everyone's affected by Mulcharmies. I think the other issue is Droll might hurt you a bit. It is possible to play around it. Another thing as well that I've learned is that Typhon is a straight up silver bullet to this deck. Yes, there are ways to beat it, obviously. You could crash into it with the synchro 10, which is Sinister Sovereign, Long Yuan. So it's not the end of the world. There are things you can do. Are there silver bullets to this deck? Somewhat. Can you play around them? Yeah, if the deck is built right. Can it be graded to be a B or A tier with the correct construction and with the correct pilot? I believe so. So technically, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to win a regionals with this if you build it right. Obviously, given your own versions with the own version that you've got there with the spicy tech, there's loads of potential again. There's loads of things here going, and we're at a low ceiling format at the moment right now. If we don't get Alliance Insight, obviously, until Alliance Insight, and then we get our power levels, which just skyrocket through the roof. So yeah, it's looking pretty sexy. It's cheap to get. The deck is cheap. Buffing it up is cheap. Loads of really good things for Ryu-Ge. So it's really just an affordable, strong deck. New deck that you can get. So yeah, that's really all I've got to say about this deck.
So tune in next time as I'll talk about other things on my channel. Hope to see you soon.
We come to the end of this video. So, as I like to say, you are one step closer to becoming a Yu-Gi-Oh master. My fate, right, is in your hands.